Hello everyone, in this video we are going to discuss about maxilla. Now this is right maxilla I have, and if I join it with left maxilla like this, so this is how it looks like in norma frontalis. And if you see individual maxilla, it is made up of a body. This is all around body and processes. Now there are four processes for maxilla. One is frontal process, another is zygomatic process, this one is alveolar process, and the fourth one is palatine process, this one. Now let's see first the body. The body contains maxillary air sinus, you can see over here, and it has got four surfaces, namely anterior, which is seen from norma frontalis, posterior, orbital, and fourth is nasal. So there are four surfaces for body. Let's see first the anterior surface. See, this is how the anterior surface looks like in norma frontalis, and it is directed forward and laterally. Now in the anterior surface, close to the alveolar border, just above the canine, there is a canine eminence, you can see over here, and medial to it there is incisive fossa just above the incisors, and lateral to canine eminence is canine fossa. Now this incisive fossa, below it provides attachment to orbicularis oris over here, and in the center it provides attachment to depressor septi. The upper and lateral part of this fossa will provide attachment to LR part of nasalis muscle, that is also termed as dilator nares. Now this canine fossa over here provides attachment to levator anguli oris, and above to that you can see a foramen. This is termed as infraorbital foramen because it is situated below the orbital margin, and it allows passage of infraorbital nerve and vessels. Above to infraorbital foramen, this portion of anterior surface just below the orbital margin, this part of the anterior surface provides origin to levator labii superioris. Medial to anterior surface, it shows a deeply concave nasal notch, and when you join both the maxilla together, see, this is how the nasal notches of both the side will form part of pyriform aperture of the nose. The gap above over here is filled by nasal bones, and the line of joining over here you can see below and in front, it forms a sharp anterior bony prominence. When you see it from laterally, you can clearly appreciate this is termed as anterior nasal spine. Now along the nasal notch, the anterior surface provides attachment to transverse part of the nasalis muscle, and that is also termed as compressor nares over here. So below in this portion it provides attachment to dilator nares or LR part of the nasalis muscle, and this portion provides attachment to transverse part of the nasalis muscle, that is termed as compressor nares. So that is about anterior surface. Now next is the posterior surface, which is convex and which is facing backward and laterally, and that forms anterior boundary of pterygopalatine fossa and infratemporal fossa. Let me show you in articulated skull. So this is anterior surface, and behind is the convex posterior surface. Now this is the territory of infratemporal fossa, and over here is the pterygomaxillary fissure. So deep to it is the pterygopalatine fossa. So you can say that this convex posterior surface forms anterior boundary of infratemporal fossa and part of the boundary of pterygopalatine fossa. For detailed description, you can see my separate video on both pterygopalatine fossa and infratemporal fossa. Now when you see it from below and laterally, you can clearly make out that a thick bony buttress over here you can see separates anterior and posterior surfaces. See this. Now this extends from first molar below to the undersurface of this zygomatic process of maxilla. This is zygomatic bone, this is the zygomatic process, and this is undersurface. So this is the thick bony buttress. Now this allows the masticatory forces from molar teeth to the base of the skull. Okay, so this is the function of this bony buttress or thick bony ridge. So the same thing you can see in separate maxilla. This is the thick bony ridge. Now when you see the maxilla from behind, this is the posterior surface, and behind third molar, generally 2 to 3, or here in this case you can see one foramen. Now this allows passage of posterior superior alveolar nerve and vessels. Okay. Another feature in posterior surface is an oblique groove. You can see over here. Now over this groove rests maxillary nerve, and direction of this groove is forward and laterally, and this groove leads to inferior orbital fissure, okay, in the orbital surface, and through this fissure there forms inferior orbital canal which runs actually in the roof of maxillary sinus, and this comes out as inferior orbital foramen in anterior surface. So over here is the groove for maxillary nerve. Third bony feature found along the posterior surface is a rounded rough area, you can see over here, and that is basically situated behind this third molar. This is termed as maxillary tuberosity. Now partially this portion is connected with lateral surface of pyramidal process of palatine bone. Let me show you palatine bone. So this is right palatine bone, and this is the pyramidal process, which itself is having three surfaces: posterior, lateral and inferior. Out of the three surfaces, this lateral surface is connected with maxillary tuberosity. Let me join these two like this. Okay, so here this lateral surface of pyramidal process will join with the maxillary tuberosity like this. You can see over here. Okay, this is how the connection will take place. And portion of this maxillary tuberosity, apart from connecting with the pyramidal process, this portion will provide attachment to superficial fibers of medial pterygoid muscle. So that is regarding posterior surface. Now next is the orbital surface, which is triangular in shape, you can see over here, and that forms major portion of floor of the orbit. Let me show you in articulated skull. See over here, you can see this is the orbital surface of maxilla, which is forming major portion of the floor of the orbit. Anteriorly it is limited by lower margin of the orbit, which is continuous as anterior lacrimal crest of frontal process of maxilla. Say this. This is the anterior margin of orbital surface. Below it is continuous with anterior surface, and this is the orbital margin. And medially it is continuous with anterior lacrimal crest. See this, which is itself is a part of frontal process of maxilla, which will connect with the frontal bone. Over here you can see this is the line of suture. So this is the continuity. Now this triangular orbital surface has got a posterior border and a medial border. The posterior border forms anteromedial boundary of inferior orbital fissure. Let me show you in articulated skull. So over here you can see this is the posterior border which forms anteromedial boundary of inferior orbital fissure, and posteriorly it is bounded by this greater wing of sphenoid. So same thing you can see over here in separate maxilla. This is the posterior free margin, and nearly in its center it forms infraorbital fissure, and that leads to infraorbital canal, okay, which is found in the roof of maxillary sinus. See, you can see over here this semi-transparent bone, and we can clearly see the probe running in infraorbital canal. Over here you can see, and that is found from in front as infraorbital foramen. Now the medial margin or the medial border commences from in front, and anteriormost part forms a notch, and that forms part of nasolacrimal. Let me show you in articulated skull. See over here you can see this is the lacrimal notch, which is the anteriormost part of medial margin of orbital surface, and that forms part of wall of nasolacrimal canal. This is the nasolacrimal canal. See over here in separate maxilla, this is the medial margin, and most anteriorly is the lacrimal notch. That is what we have seen in articulated skull. Posterior to it, this portion is connected with lacrimal bone. Still posteriorly, this portion is related to orbital plate of ethmoid. Let me show you ethmoid. See, this is ethmoid, and this is its orbital surface, and this is how this medial margin is related to it. Okay, deep to it lies middle and posterior ethmoidal sinuses. These are the anterior ethmoidal sinuses, which are partially covered by lacrimal bone and this frontal process of maxilla. I don't have a separate lacrimal bone, but you can clearly make out this gap is filled by lacrimal bone. This is the orbital plate of ethmoid, and most posteriorly over here lies orbital process of palatine bone. Let me show you. So this is right palatine bone, and this is the orbital process, and over here this portion of orbital process, okay, is connected to maxilla along its medial margin like this. So this is how the articulation will take place. And see this portion of orbital process of palatine bone, see this is connected to this medial margin, and basically this part will form most posterior part of floor of the orbit. So here lies the orbital plate of ethmoid. This is orbital process of palatine bone. Here lies the lacrimal bone, and most anteriorly this lacrimal notch will form part of wall of nasolacrimal canal. Now just lateral to this lacrimal notch over here, this part of the orbital surface provides origin to inferior oblique muscle of the eyeball, which is one of the extraocular muscle. So that is regarding orbital surface. Now next is the nasal surface, which is fourth surface. Now it is said that the body is pyramidal in shape, so this nasal surface is forming base of the pyramid. The apex is represented by this zygomatic process of maxilla. Now when we see the nasal surface from medial aspect, the major portion is in the form of hiatus, which leads to maxillary sinus deep inside. Now in articulated skull, the hiatus is obliterated by other bones. The upper margin of this hiatus is related to ethmoidal labyrinth. Let me show you. And this is ethmoid, and these two are its labyrinth. So this is how it is connected like this. Okay, you can see it from below. This is how the articulation takes place. Okay. In front of it there is a nasolacrimal groove, and that is converted into nasolacrimal canal by a descending process of lacrimal bone. Let me show you the same in articulated skull. So here this is nasolacrimal canal, and this is the lacrimal bone. See over here on left side, this is lacrimal bone, and you can clearly make out its descending process. Over here you can see. Now this completes nasolacrimal canal, okay, and that allows passage of nasolacrimal duct, which actually opens into inferior meatus. So over here you can see, if I insert the probe from above, you can see over here this is the descending process of lacrimal bone, okay, and deep to it is nasolacrimal groove. Anteroinferiorly there is an oblique conchal crest, you can see over here, and that is connected with inferior nasal concha. Let me show you inferior nasal concha. So this is right inferior nasal concha, and this is how these two gets connected. It is partially broken, but you can clearly make out that this is how the articulation will take place, okay, like this. So this conchal crest is connected with inferior nasal concha like this, and below this maxillary hiatus there is a smooth area, you can see over here, and that is overlapped by this inferior nasal concha, clearly you can make out over here, and together these two will form anterior part of inferior meatus where this nasolacrimal duct opens. Okay, so this is how the articulation will take place. Now posterior to this hiatus there is a rough area and a groove. Now this portion is related to lateral surface of perpendicular plate of palatine bone. Let me show you palatine bone. So again, this is right palatine bone and this is its perpendicular plate. It has got two surfaces, medial and lateral. So this lateral surface of perpendicular plate is related to this rough area. See how the articulation will take place. Okay. And you can make out that partially because of this perpendicular plate, partially this hiatus is obliterated, and when we join these two together, in between these two there forms a canal which is termed as greater palatine canal. Okay, so two corresponding grooves, one in this lateral surface of perpendicular plate and another is over here behind this maxillary hiatus along the nasal surface. These two grooves together they are converted into greater palatine canal. See, like this, you can see the canal. So this is the maxillary hiatus, which appears very large in separate maxilla, but in articulated skull it is obliterated by certain bones. Like if we join this ethmoid like this, so it is partially overlapped by the labyrinth, the middle nasal concha, and particularly its uncinate process. Let me show you the uncinate process. See over here, this is the uncinate process, and that is connected by ethmoidal process of inferior nasal concha. Okay, so this is how the articulation will take place. Similarly, from below there lies inferior nasal concha. Let me join the concha again. And along the lateral aspect of the concha there is maxillary process, which is a triangular bony plate. And if we join this concha, this triangular bony plate will also partially obliterate the maxillary hiatus. See this, you can see over here, right? From in front and above, as we have discussed, there comes descending process of lacrimal bone, so that will also partially obliterate this anterior part of the meatus. And from behind over here lies perpendicular plate of palatine bone. That is what just now we have discussed, like this. And over here in front along the anterior border of perpendicular plate there is a maxillary process which is broken over here, and that will also partially obliterate this hiatus. Okay, let me show you in another palatine bone. See over here, this is left palatine bone and this is the perpendicular plate. This is its anterior border and this is the maxillary process. So if we join it with left maxilla like this, so you can make out this maxillary process is partially obliterating the maxillary hiatus. Okay. See, this is how inferior nasal concha, palatine bone and maxilla are related, and you can clearly make out that initially large looking maxillary hiatus is reduced now, the size is reduced. So this is how the articulation will take place. Still above over here if you join ethmoid, so that hiatus will further narrow down and that will be limited just in relation to the uncinate process. So basically there forms two foramina, one above and one below the uncinate process. The below foramina will be plugged by mucous membrane and the upper foramen above to the uncinate process will show opening of maxillary sinus through hiatus ambilionaris. So when we join all these four together, See, maxilla with ethmoid. So you can see how this maxillary hiatus is getting narrowed, and if we put inferior nasal concha like this, so it is further narrowed down, and still posteriorly we can put this palatine bone like this. So this it's not actually fitting properly, but you can clearly make out how these bones are connected with each other like this, and together they are narrowing down the initially large looking maxillary hiatus like this. So this is how it is connected, and when we see it in articulated skull, see this is the orbital plate of ethmoid, and over here you can see this is the labyrinth deep inside. Okay, posteriorly is the perpendicular plate of palatine bone, and over here will be inferior nasal concha, which is broken. So this is how the maxillary hiatus gets narrowed. So this is regarding nasal surface. Now processes, as I mentioned, it has got 4 processes: zygomatic, frontal, alveolar and palatine. Now let's see first the zygomatic process. It's a bony prominence which is projecting laterally, and it is situated at the junction of orbital anterior and posterior surfaces. See this is the zygomatic process. Along its upper part it is having a rough area which receives maxillary process of zygomatic bone. Let me show you the same in articulated skull. So over here you can see this is the zygomatic process, and this is the maxillary process of zygomatic bone. You can see the suture line. So this is the outline of zygomatic bone, and this is its maxillary process, and together these two are connected with each other. You can see the suture line. Basically this zygomatic process of maxilla is representing apex of the pyramidal shaped bone. So base is represented by nasal surface and apex is represented by this zygomatic process. Now next is the frontal process, which is a tough triangular bony projection which is directed upward and slightly backward. It is having a blunt tip, an anterior border, a posterior border and 2 surfaces, lateral and medial. The blunt tip is connected with the nasal notch of frontal bone. Let me show you in articulated skull. See over here, this is the frontal process of maxilla. This is its blunt tip, and that is connected with the nasal notch of the frontal bone. You can see the suture line. The anterior border, you can clearly see the suture is connected with posterior border of this nasal bone. Okay, the posterior border deep inside is connected with lacrimal bone. This is the outline of lacrimal bone. Okay, now the lateral surface is subdivided by a sharp lacrimal crest or anterior lacrimal crest, you can see over here, which is continuation of this orbital margin into anterior and posterior parts. This lacrimal crest itself will provide attachment to lacrimal fascia. In the middle of the crest, it provides attachment to medial palpebral ligament. Just above and below to it, it provides attachment to orbicularis oculi muscle, and just in front of it, this portion provides attachment to levator labii superioris elecnasi. So similar thing you can appreciate along the left side, as over here along the right side the lacrimal bone is bit broken, but over here along the left side you can clearly make out this is inferior orbital margin, and it is continuous as anterior lacrimal crest along the lateral surface of the frontal process, and that divides the lateral surface into anterior and posterior part. So here the posterior part of lateral surface behind this anterior lacrimal crest is grooved, and that is related to another groove of this lacrimal bone which is bounded behind by another crest. This is termed as posterior lacrimal crest, which is part and parcel of lacrimal bone. So these half grooves of both the bones, posterior part of the frontal process and anterior part of this lacrimal bone, together they form a lacrimal fossa, and that is lodging lacrimal sac in living. So that is about lateral surface. Now next is the medial surface of frontal process. Over here you can see an obliquely running ethmoidal crest, and posterior part of it is connected with middle nasal concha. Let me show you. So this is ethmoid, and this is crista galli, and this is the cribriform plate, and these two are labyrinth. And over here, this is middle nasal concha, its anteriormost part. This will connect with posterior part of this ethmoidal crest like this. If we join these two together, see over here, you can see this portion of middle nasal concha is connected to posterior part of ethmoidal crest, whereas the anterior part of the crest remains free, and that forms agar nasi. Below to that ethmoidal crest, there is a smooth depressed area up to the conchal crest of the nasal surface. This portion forms atrium of middle meatus, and upper part it is bit rough, and that is connected with labyrinth of ethmoid. Again, if we connect it like this, you can clearly make out the uppermost part of medial surface. This portion above the ethmoidal crest is related to the labyrinth, and that will partially obliterate anterior ethmoidal sinuses. Okay, along with the lacrimal bone, these two together will obliterate or cover anterior ethmoidal sinuses like this. So these are anterior ethmoidal sinuses, and you can make out that it is partially covered by the medial surface of frontal process. Now if you see the frontal process from in front and laterally, you can clearly make out that it's very thick, and it is forming a line of bony buttress, and that will disperse masticatory forces from the incisors to the base of the skull. Now next is alveolar process. You can see it is forming half of the arch, and if we join another maxilla, you can see it will complete the arch, and together they are forming upper jaw, and they are having sockets for the teeth. In adult, the sockets will be in the formula of 2 1 2 3, that means 2 incisor, 1 canine, 2 premolar and 3 molars. Similarly, in case of children up to the age of after the age of 2 years, the formula will be 2 1 2, that is 2 incisor, 1 canine and 2 milk molars. Now on either side, the alveolar process is connected or covered by mucoperiosteum of the gums, and along the lateral aspect in relation to the molars, 3 molars, over here this portion or this area will provide attachment to buccinator muscle. Now fourth and last process is palatine process. You can see over here it is a thick bony shelf, and when we join its counterpart, both these palatine processes together will form anterior 3/4 of the hard palate. And you know, hard palate is a bony partition that will separate nasal cavity above with the oral cavity below. Posterior 1/4 of the hard palate is contributed by the horizontal plates of palatine bone from behind. Individual palatine process, when you see, it has got two surfaces, upper and lower, and it has got two borders, medial border and posterior border. Now the superior surface is smooth concave, and that forms major portion of floor of nasal cavity. See, in articulated skull, these are the superior surfaces, whereas the inferior surface is rough and pitted. You can correlate with separate maxilla, okay, and that is because of palatine glands. And along the posterolateral aspect of this inferior surface, over here you can see there are 1 to 2 grooves, and that will lodge greater palatine vessels and nerves. Along the intermaxillary suture, just behind central incisors, there is an incisive foramen, and along its lateral wall there are lateral incisive foramina, and that will allow passage of terminal part of greater palatine vessels from oral cavity to nasal cavity, and from nasal cavity terminal part of long nasopalatine nerve will enter into oral cavity. Let me show you the same in separate maxilla. So here these are another maxilla I have, and you can clearly make out formation of this incisive foramen. Okay, and along its lateral wall there are two lateral incisive foramina. See over here, one is over here, clearly you can see. So that will open into the floor of along the lateral wall of incisive foramen below and along the floor of this nasal cavity above. See this. Now specifically in young skull, you will find another suture line extending from lateral aspect of this incisive fossa to the junction of lateral incisor and canine. Now the bone situated in front of this suture is termed as premaxilla, which is developed from a separate source. Next are the medial borders. They will connect with their counterpart and to form intermaxillary suture, and above when you see the suture they will form an elevated sharp elevated margin. This is termed as nasal crest, and that will connect with lower border of vomer. Anteriormost part of this attachment is projected forward, and that is termed as anterior nasal spine. The posterior border of palatine process is serrated, and that is connected to anterior border of horizontal plate of palatine bone to complete hard palate. So this is regarding maxilla. Hope you have understood well. Thanks for watching.